diesel heaters, specifically Chinese diesel heaters as they're known. I think they're absolutely excellent. I'm going to head outside, show you the two that I've got, explain how they work, and then strip one down and show you how to clean it when they go wrong. Sick of this shit Great British weather, which is probably why you found this video, because we're into colder months and you're using one of these things. So I've had 3 over the course of the last 8 years. Still got 2 of them. I sold one of them when it went with my caravan. I'm just going to quickly show you how I've got 2 set up at the minute. So it's not the prettiest. This one is sitting inside a Stanley toolbox to keep out of the weather. I've got a 12 volt power supply there which runs it. It's been like this for about 5 years and this one has been pretty good. Unfortunately this one is getting neglected. But this is one that I built into a box before they were available to buy in a similar sort of setup. So I'm going to take this one inside, strip it down and show you what they're all about. Well, that was my plan anyway, but that was sort of turning into an exactly how not to care for your diesel heater video. So I've gone and got the first one, which is currently in use, and that is here. So the way in which these work is dead simple, really. You've got a plastic outer body, and these 2 pipes on the underneath here are air intake for combustion air, and this is exhaust air. And what that does is basically ignite diesel inside the main chamber, which gets hot, and then air is drawn inside the plastic body over the metal chamber and then back out the other end. To get the cover off, you just take off sometimes these unscrew, sometimes they pull off, and then you should just be able to remove this top cover. And you can see the actual heat exchanger. Is it a heat exchanger? I suppose it is really. So inside there is where the combustion is happening, and so that metal part gets very hot and the air is drawn in using this fan to push through the fins of this chamber and back out the other side. I'll just show you how to get it out of the plastic casing, because that's what we need to do if we're going to strip it down. And on the underneath, this plate actually comes off and you've got 4 little nuts here. And I don't know if you can see it clearly, but this little nozzle here is actually your diesel line. So that's where you'd run your diesel or your kerosene, depending on what you choose. Once they're loose, you should just be able to wind them off with your fingers. And then you'll just pull this plate off the top. And there is a rubber seal between the plate and the body, which sometimes gets a little bit stuck. That's this bit basically. But I've found in all the times that I've had this apart, it's never perished. It's always been in good condition to reuse. So just pull that out of the way. And now that that is free, you should be able to lift the inside out of the plastic housing. Then we'll put the plastic housing to one side. So another key component of this is the glow pin or glow plug, whatever you want to call it, which is obviously responsible for igniting in the first place. It only actually runs for the start up and the cool down process. Once it's ignited in there, it doesn't require the glow pin to be on anymore to keep combustion going. So effectively when they're running, they're really efficient because they're hardly drawing any power. But I'll show you that in just a minute when we get it apart. I was just about to say, all you need for this is a socket or a spanner to get that off at the start, and then an Allen key. And you know when the only Allen key you need is the only one not in the fucking box? I can't believe I could actually find that. If there was a video series on the most embarrassing sheds, mine is one of them. It's an absolute tip. So yeah, Allen key. You only need one size, as far as I've found, to take this thing apart. So you start off by taking the fan assembly, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. Yes. Yes. I think, if I remember rightly, one of these is a little bit trickier to get to because you have to go through the wires of the circuit board, but I found if you just unplug the wires, because they have to come off anyway, it makes it easier to get to. That is this one just here, but if you just take this plug off, oh, that doesn't actually help at all. So if you go here and squeeze these little tabs, oh, there's another Allen key down there. There you go, I told you a lie. You actually need another little Allen key to take the circuit board off. This might not be the most refined, picture perfect video for YouTube, but I've done this so many times and I feel like I know what I'm talking about. You can then just take out this last Allen key, or Allen bolt, whatever you want to call it. So now you should be able to just pull these two apart and we're inside. So the glow pin, which I mentioned earlier, is also just a 2-wired plug on the board, and if you just remove that, if you remove it before this stage, it's a lot easier. And then you've got one more wire, which I've already taken out, which is the temperature sensor for the body itself, and then you're free. So this part, which has got a motor in here, drives the fan which pulls the air over the body, and it also is responsible for pulling the combustion air in too. So that's why you can see that spinning on the outside and the inside. So we don't need that anymore, we'll put that to one side. Between that and the body there is a gasket, and the first time that I'd done this job I replaced the gasket for a decent quality one, and I've never had to change it again because it stayed in good condition. But that is an essential. Gaskets for these things is just part of the process when giving them a service. And so what you can see now, this is the actual burner, and we're going to take that out next because that's where generally it gets really sooty or clogged up. When I first started using these heaters, a couple of them I struggled to get to run perfectly, and the first one was due to the fact that it wasn't being run hard enough. They don't like ticking over. So if you're going to put one in a van or a small boat or somewhere that doesn't need a great deal of heat, go for the smaller size. They do them in either a 2, a 5 or an 8 kilowatt. So yeah, if you're going for like a small build, put a small heater in, because if you put a big one in and all it's ever doing is ticking over, it will just clog up too quick and you'll get fed up. You'll throw it out and you'll say, oh, they're rubbish, Chinese diesel heaters, but you'd have the same even if it was a branded Webasto or Planair or something like that. If you don't run them hard some of the time, then they will clog up. Right, so to get the burner out, you just need to remove this rubber bung from the glow pin. So it's easier to remove this glow plug now before trying to winkle it out with the wires. And for that you need a glow plug tool, which I'm now going to have to go and find in my shed. I've got loads of bits for these things. Over the years I've collected all sorts. I've got a big old box outside with all sorts, gaskets and everything. So this is the tool I'm on about for the glow pin, and basically all it is a socket with a slot in the side to allow for the wire, so you can put it through the hole and twist it. Obviously, slot the tool over the wires and down into the body over the outside of the glow pin, and then just stick your Allen key or whatever in there to loosen it off, and then just unthread it by hand. That is all it is. I think it's ceramic, which basically just glows to start the combustion, and then you should be able to just pull the burner out. I've got no idea what this is going to look like. The heat has been running really well recently in here. This is actually from my wife's studio, so, and it's lovely and clean. I'll get a torch actually and show you. So yeah, there's no soot in there at all. It's been running really nicely. Like I said, it does get run quite hard out there to keep the place warm, so I did expect that to be clean. But what I would do in a normal situation, or in times where I found that absolutely full of soot, completely coked up, is I've just got a toothbrush and ran it round and round, tapped it. There might be better ways, I don't really know, but that's always worked for me, and when I've put it back together it's run perfect again. So the only other thing is, inside the actual chamber, this is a similar situation. So there is a little bit of soot in there, so I will just give it a brush out, but it's not too bad. And here again, you've got another gasket, which is a paper or calf gasket, whatever they are. But, you know, unless when you pull it apart, it tears it to shreds, I don't worry about replacing them because that just seems pointless. It's still in perfect condition. Other people might say otherwise, you know, they might say replace it every time regardless, but I haven't. I've never had a problem. These heaters are installed outside, so I've never had an issue with smelling any combustion gases or anything like that. Look at this mad coloured sky out here at the minute. I don't know if you can tell, but it's really orange. It's cool. So I'll grab my trusty toothbrush and show you what's going to come out of here onto the kitchen table. Like I said, it really isn't that bad, to be honest. I have had it a lot worse than this. And I found that in one of the heaters that I had to adjust the settings, which did involve doing a little bit of research online and finding the recommended settings for that heater. And once I got that adjusted correctly, it ran perfect. Right, so another key thing to look at if you're having running issues is inside here where the glow pin goes, there is what is called a glow pin screen, which is basically this tiny little mesh which the ceramic tip goes inside, and I don't know how to describe it, but the diesel, so it's dropped onto this mesh, not directly onto the pin, and then it's ignited, whatever wizardry happens. But I've found issues before where these get really coked up, or just, I don't know, they just get blocked up. But I haven't yet found a good way to remove it. It's in there, and when it's been in there a while, I end up mullering it, getting it out. So I'm not going to do that today because this one is actually fine by the looks of it. And like I said, I haven't had running issues with this. It's just for the purpose of this video that I'm doing a strip down. Funnily enough, there is a tool to push these back in, which I've got somewhere. But they're not really difficult to push in anyway. It's just getting the old one out. I've always found a bit of a struggle. I'm sure somebody will let me know the proper way to do that. I feel like in recent years, these things have become so popular on Facebook. There's tons of groups, loads of help groups, loads of helpful people, and loads of bitchy people as well, actually. Everyone likes to slag everyone else's work off, which is sad, but unfortunately you do get some people which do install these in quite a dangerous way, where there is no common sense. But that's the same with anything, you know. If you can get these products cheap, I mean, you can get these for like 60 or 70 quid now. I think I paid 150 quid the first one I bought on eBay years ago, and then since then I bought the other two for perhaps 70, 80 quid. There is just so many to choose from, loads of different brands, all saying they're the best. But I think that in terms of the Chinese diesel heater, they're all very similar. Obviously they don't go through the same quality control as what your Bastos would do and stuff like that. That is obviously the risk you take with these things. You need to check them over, you need to make sure they're running okay. It's not a bad idea to have a CO2 alarm, especially when you're playing with your life with these sorts of things. You know, this is combustion at the end of the day, so it has the potential to be dangerous if you're using it in a living space or somewhere that you're sleeping. It's always worth having something extra to keep you safe. Right, I'm going to put this back together now because I'm happy that that is clean. Another thing to think about with these is the fuel that you use, for fuck's sake, to run them on. I started off with red diesel because it's cheap, and you know, it's easy enough to get if you've got local boat yards or whatever, anybody like that. It's a lot cheaper than white diesel from the pump. But we used one of these for 3 years. We lived in a big static for a while, and one of these 5 kilowatt heaters was able to heat the whole van because I plumbed in a load of ducting underneath it into the rooms and everything, and it was perfect. I ended up running it on kerosene because I had access to kerosene at the time, and I found that it ran cleaner and hotter than it did with diesel. I was finding that I was having to service it less because the kerosene just ran so much cleaner. I don't know why that is. That was just what I found. So I'm not really up to date on what is a good one to buy at the moment and what isn't. Like I said, there is a lot of chatter, especially on Facebook in the groups about these, and there are some really helpful guys who will point you in the right direction on where the best place to buy is and what to avoid. Unfortunately, you've got so many people in there who claim to be absolute gurus at this sort of thing, which I'm not doing. I'm just showing you my experience and what I have always found to work for me. Sure, there's things that I haven't got 100% right, and I'm happy to take criticism on that. Ah, oh, for fuck's sake, I've just snapped the glow pin. What a dickhead. So it turns out I don't have a spare at the minute, so I'll just nick one out of the other heater. I just thought I'd go and get one of these to show you what this is. This is the actual pump, which basically doses the diesel in at a rate depending on how fast the heater is running. So if you've got it turned up high, then this will pump quicker. And it makes a little clicking sound, which a lot of people find annoying. So if you are doing an install in a van or somewhere where you're sleeping, try and mount this, try and rubber mount it, or have it away from where you can hear it, because I know it annoys a lot of people. I have had a couple of these fail on me over the years. They're cheap to replace, 10 or 15 quid, depending on where you get them from. I think there's a little diaphragm inside, and quite often if you give them a knock with a screwdriver or something with a little bit of weight, they'll start working again, but obviously that's not very reliable. So sometimes best just to replace them for a new one. I'm not going to show you me putting this back together because that's just pointless. It's basically the reverse of taking it apart. You just do everything that you did but in reverse. Obviously make sure your gaskets are good, make sure everything's tight. There's not really a lot else I can show you apart from things to bear in mind are good quality fuel line. Some of the stuff that gets shipped with these units is crap. It perishes quite quickly. I know there's a lot. Jesus, my kid's running around upstairs. Sounds like we're being bombed. So these come in a 12 or 24 volt version, but I think all that is a change in the controller, so it doesn't actually matter which version you can get, you can change that over. You can run these off leisure batteries. Obviously, like I said, at the start, when you start these things up and when they finish, they do draw about 10 or 12 amps, I think. So that's worth bearing in mind, but when they're running, they're economic, they're cheap. The alternative is if you've got it in a permanent install, you have a 12 volt power supply, which I've got and have had in previous projects. So yeah, that's just about it. I'm not trying to be a professional at this. This is just my experience. I've had a lot of good experience with these and I really rate them. Happy to take criticism for anything I missed. And obviously if this has been useful in any way, I'd appreciate it if you could give it a like or even subscribe. So yeah, thanks for watching.